Okay, this is the charge to mass ratio experiment. So we have a power supply and we have our apparatus. Now inside there are the coils, and here we have the electron beam, which, as we discussed, is in a circular motion, and that's where we discussed that the magnetic force on the electrons is equal to the centripetal force. So we have several different ways to do this. So we have a voltage supply, that's our potential energy that accelerates the electrons. And then we have a current that goes through the coils, which that is the source of the magnetic field that causes the circular motion of the electrons. So at this current point, it's reading 1.762 amps, and that's the current in the coil. And you can use that current or whatever value is given to calculate the magnetic field, which is given in your lab description. And here we can observe the voltage, 352 volts, and that is also needed in our calculations as we discussed before. So we can adjust the voltage here and see what happens to our radius of curvature, and we can adjust our current and see how that also affects this. Okay, so now we have some data here we can observe. We have several different sets. We have, first of all, the set where the current has remained almost constant. So we have radius of curvature, little r, our voltage, and our current I. So if you can pause this video, you can collect this data. Now we have a case where we kept the voltage roughly constant, and we have our radius of curvature, voltage, and current in our coils. So again, you can pause the video. Next, we have a third set where the voltage has also remained constant, but at a higher value, roughly twice of that of the original. And again, we have our radius of curvature and current in the coils. So as we said, you can use your current to calculate the magnetic field, and once you have that value, you can input the values of voltage and radius to determine the charge to mass ratio, Q over M, which is the goal of the experiment. In addition to that, you can also calculate the velocity of the electrons in here based on some of that same data. Okay, so that should be the basics of this charge to mass ratio experiment.